So, The Other Dead. Don't know if I like this one. It's quoted on Facebook here. That's the world's first zombie animal comic series. And it's created by Joshua Ortega, Digger T. Mesh, and Quinn Pen Mew. Someone called Blonde, and Kevin Eastman. I haven't read any of their other works unless, they weren't heavily credited, unless they're... I don't recognise any of their names, is what I'm trying to get at now. I've read a lot of graphic novels, comics, and manga. But something about this is really lacking. I thought I'd really like it. The whole thing looks beautiful. The book itself is gorgeous. It looks really nice when lined up on a shelf or something. The front cover's nice. Everything about it looks really interesting. The artwork is gorgeous, very dynamic. There's a scene early on where they're flooded. The house is flooded, and the graphics. Too much gaming. The artwork here is absolutely gorgeous. The shading on the water is really nice. You've got some really gory, grotesque imagery here, and I have to say, there's almost too much gore in this, a gratuitous amount of gore, which I would compare to something like Crossed, which, funnily enough, the artwork did remind me of a lot, so I'm just gonna... No one made that. But yeah, it's got that kind of dark, gritty, gory feel, which makes you feel a bit sick after a while. The story now most people go to graphic novel for the story. The story itself is in some way original, even though it has been done in numerous ways in the past, such as Pet Sematary by Stephen King, or Juno? Can't remember. The one with the dog. So it's not amazingly original, and nothing about it stands out massively, even though it is trying to differentiate itself from other stereotypical zombie series. It does have basically every stereotype of the zombie franchise in it. You've got the cliche, normal, uncaring characters who you cannot relate to in any way. You've got the little kid, you've got the family members, you've got the jumping from one spot to another in an effort to stay alive, which are kind of things that have to go with a zombie survival novel. You're either staying in one little camp with a large group of survivors, or you're jumping from one area to another. That is basically zombies. And if it was to happen in real life, that is what would happen, basically. You're not just going to walk around the streets 24/7, because you will die. Especially with the amazingly fast animals. I mean, these are animals we're talking about, not humans. It turns the whole thing on its head slightly, with the fact that normally in a zombie apocalypse book, novel, series or something, you've got two sides. You've got the evil humans, aka the zombies, and then you've got the good humans, or the survivors, aka Rick Grimes, those kind of things in The Walking Dead, which is a comic I have read since 2008, so that's 6 years now, and I felt a lot of influence from that franchise is in here. But with this, you have the survivors are humans, and the evil people, or the zombies, are all animals, so it does kind of make it a bit more threatening, because, I mean, I can hardly take a dog by itself, to be perfectly honest, if it was a massive dog or something, let alone one which loses 2 eyes and carries on walking. 2 eyes being the common norm for a dog, of course. It does lose both its eyes, and it carries on going for them, and something about that is a bit more scary than a guy who walks like that or something, or a normal dog. So it does have some originality in it, but my problem was none of the characters are good, and it doesn't bring too much to the franchise itself, and nothing about it was amazing. The artwork was good. As I said before, the water art is absolutely beautiful, and there is a gratuitous amount of blood and other bodily fluids splashed across the pages. The whole presentation is really nice, going from the book itself to the original front covers. Let me just show you this. I think they've gave you those at the beginning. Yeah, the original front covers, which look a bit like a 1940, 50, 60s kind of horror movie poster, which look really cheesy but also good. And talking about cheesy, I think that was my probably that was probably my biggest problem with this book. It's incredibly cheesy, from the over-the-top stereotypical dialogue to the fact that Obama is a main character, and I kid you not, halfway through they bump into Obama, who makes idle chit-chat and doesn't go badass but sticks to his morals, and then he's like talking about gun policy, and it's just, look at it, it genuinely felt like it was mocking itself, which I'm not sure if that's what its main purpose was, but I didn't want that. I wanted a survival horror wherein the animals are the main threat, and unfortunately I didn't get that, because even though they are frequently referenced, and the whole thing is based around, being attacked by massive man-eating bat things, you don't get that horror feel, which is really weird. I'm not sure if this is being continued. I bloody well hope so, because it leaves it like that. It's over before it's really started, to be honest. You get only about 5 pages or something. I mean, you have the little prologue, and then you jump straight into it, and then from then on it's World War Z, jumping from one spot to the other while zombies attack you in a weird new age fashion. It's just, I'm not sure if it wasn't long enough, or if it was just the cheesy dialogue. I'm a fan of some comedies and some mockumentary sort of things, and things that don't take itself too serious. Half of my stuff here is exactly that. But this felt like it was trying to be serious, but just completely failed in doing so. So, would I recommend you get it? I'd recommend you get it so long as you get it cheap, so long as you get it in this, because I wouldn't recommend having the comics next to each other, and this is presented gorgeously. I love this. It's possibly one of my favourite covers I've ever seen. It just is really nicely made. I would recommend you get it if you can find this cheap. I'd say around £8, like $11, $12, something like that. And if you have a really good metal album, because if you stick one of your favourite metal or rock artists in the background whilst reading this, it does improve it a tiny bit. It makes it feel a bit more like some sort of zany YouTube creation wherein the animals are going. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but Birdemic, where you've got these birds and they're trying to cast it. I'm not sure if it's on purpose again for serious, but it casts itself off as serious, but it's not at all serious because of the awful CGI. That is what this is. Essentially, it is Birdemic, slightly better than Birdemic, but it is essentially Birdemic. So would I recommend you get it? I'd recommend you get it if you can get it cheap, but I wouldn't recommend you get it in the comic format. Not entirely sure if there's going to be a sequel. I will pick it up if I get a hardback, purely because I'm a kleptomaniac. I'm a completionist at heart. I cannot let a series go, no matter how bad it is. So yeah, get it if you can, but only if it's slightly cheap. As I've said before, presentation's nice. It does look really nice on your bookshelf, and that's it. This was The Other Dead by Joshua Ortega, Digger T. Mesh, Quinn Pen Mew, or Mau, I can't pronounce that, Blonde, and Kevin Eastman. This has been my first review on a graphic novel or a manga, or whatever, proper review, on my channel. So I'm going to look back and try to reflect on this, look at criticism both for myself and by other people, build upon it. But yeah, this was The Other Dead. It's alright.